Hi, my name is Valerie Varan. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I love quantum psychology. I'm a strong advocate. And along those lines, with me today, I happen to have Tatiana Slezak, and she is this amazing intuitive healer. I actually worked with her a little bit so I could have a personal flavor of the way she does her intuitive healing. And so, welcome, Tatiana. I'm so glad to have you tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. I love what you do and I like your podcast very much. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Tatiana. So, Tatiana has a couple of books out that we'll be talking about soon. But first, I do want to talk about her um, intuitive healing. So, Tatiana, can you talk a little bit about if you always felt your intuition, or maybe what age were you when you were first starting to have your experiences, and what were those early experiences like?
Early, you mean in my life, early, like few years back?
Well, right, because so many people they don't feel their intuition. And then at some point in time in their life, they're like, wow, I started getting these intuitions coming in. There's fewer people who maybe feel like they were that way from birth. So I always have fun finding out about everybody's individual journey. Were you a child experiencer, or did it develop later on in life?
As a child, I was a big empath, which I was laughed at school because I really could feel what other people feel. And I felt so sorry for lots of kids and I tried to support them, but then I end up being the one who was put down. So that was it. But when it comes to intuition, maybe I will surprise you here, but for years I thought that my intuition basically doesn't exist. Like I thought I was wrong on so many occasions. Like I could hear women, we have this amazing intuition, but when it came to me, I was like, I don't think it actually works this way. However, when I look back now, I heard those tiny little voices occasionally that I dismissed them. So that was it. But however, I always felt there is something more out there. It's not just body, which is not just because it's quite amazing to have this, but it's not just flesh and bones, if we can call it this way. I
Yes, not
felt there
just
is
this
something,
material.
yeah. And when I actually thought about this way, that ages ago, when I thought what I would like to do in life, I had this strong thought, I would like to be a healer. And then I thought, but I have really no abilities to to do anything about that. But I had this strong pull, and then of course what I did, of course I dismissed it. And years go by, I really tried to be normal, but because I was different in a sense, I felt I'm different, but I really tried to be normal. I was different in a sense, I'm quite tall, so that was one thing already. Then it was communist time in Poland. People were wearing pretty much similar thing, but my mom always put different stuff on me. She was interested in spiritual healing. Oh, we had Louise Hay on those cassettes, right? At
Oh,
home.
Louise
When
Hay, even at home in Poland.
Yes, and I don't think anyone even heard about that back in time. So I had seeds here or there. And then when my mom became vegetarian, that was like in Poland, being vegetarian is basically, so what do you eat? Was absolutely shocking. So I had glimpses here or there. So I really wanted to be like everyone else, but I also felt that there is something else. And I felt this pull towards exploration, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready because I really wanted to fit in. And mm, not even long time, it wasn't long time, I don't know, I would say like 10 years ago, even when I decided I don't need to fill in. I can be different. That's fine.
Well, I love that, right? Because so many people can relate to your story, I think, number one, for their own reason. But I'm hearing that as you were younger, you're growing up with this mom that's actually very different. And did you say she's into yoga and
Oh,
uh,
yes, she did
Louise
yoga
Hay
when
and
my
healing?
father, yeah, my father used to call it yogi boo boo because he was laughing at her, basically. But I thought this is so cool. Actually, yoga was the first thing that I thought it's so cool. And when I mentioned that to someone, I said, my mom does yoga. They were, what's yoga?
I know.
People didn't know.
What were those years? Was that back in like 70s?
So I am 48 now. So born in 76. So in 90s, early
So
90s.
there you were, even in probably the 80s and early 90s with mom doing yoga and into these things that in communist Poland was definitely not the thing. Yeah, that would have really been wacko probably in those days. And at the same time, it sounds like your first intuition was feeling the subtle energy of people's emotions. Did you feel them inside your body?
Yeah, and I was in pain a lot of time
And you
because
could
I could
feel
feel
their pain.
animals. I could feel animals, maybe not that much, but still, I understand why people hurt animals, especially kids. Sometimes they were cruel on them when they were playing. And when people were bullied or laughed at, uh, that was killing me inside. And I made, I think, even conscious decision of not to feel it anymore because I didn't want to I didn't want to live with constant pain. So it was about 20 years ago when I asked myself and I asked this empathy to come back because I realized it can actually help me in life. But back then, being a kid, it was hard for me because I couldn't function within kids, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have friends. My children actually are quite different. When they don't like someone, they are like, I prefer to be alone than to hang out with someone that's not polite. That's not kind. Maybe not polite. That's not kind. But I wanted to have friends no matter what.
Well, and especially in those days, like you said, these things weren't very heard of, but it sounds like uh, you somehow realized that you could turn off that gift. And it sounds like you did until about 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And so there you were trying to fit in, which is very common. I know in my book, Living in a Quantum Reality, that is actually one of the chapters I talk about is how much we don't feel like we fit in. And yet, isn't it natural as part of our human biology to want to fit in and have a sense of belonging in our culture, in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our communities? And so no wonder, right? You were very normal trying to fit in. And then what was it that made you decide, okay, enough of like squashing my gifts, trying to fit in. I'm done. I want my empathy to come back. I want my gifts to come back. Wow, I think I even want to do healing. Looking at your mom, probably opening up to some things. Yeah, maybe you could describe that journey of that. That's a big, important decision.
Yeah, because I'm quite not even quite. I'm very practical. Having quite busy life, and I was always interested in many things. I realized that having empathy can be extremely helpful in life because empathy can help me to choose right people because then I actually had choice. You know, I wasn't in a situation. I was an adult that people started appreciate when I really felt what they felt. And I noticed people started coming to me and telling me, and I felt privileged that they want to share. And I noticed it can be helpful also in raising children because I can really understand them, what they're going through as children. Because I've often heard people go, oh, you're just little, it will pass, you'll see once you're an adult, your problems is nothing. I could really feel what they're going through. And for me, their problems were big for them, even though it seemed small for me. And that really helped me to guide to be a better mother,
Oh,
better
that's
wife, better
beautiful.
friend. And once I started to write books, or thinking even about writing books, I realized that I can understand many people and what they go through, even if it hasn't happened, luckily, it hasn't happened to me. So I look at it as a really useful tool. And so then I relaxed in it and said, okay, that's fine. That's going to help me. And that opened the door to other things that I let this in. So even then, working regular jobs, I realized that I'm meeting better people, that I attract really nice people. So I wasn't looking at this as a curse, as a little bit I look at it when I was little. Yeah, so this is what happened first. And in the meantime, it's not very smooth ride, because like they say, oh, it's not very, in a sense, like it's not very constant. There were ups and downs with all the spiritual stuff that were happening, because
It always is.
yeah. So
Ups and
it's not like,
downs.
I can give you pinpoints, and that happened after that happened after that happened. Definitely, the huge thing for us was our move to Australia 15 years ago. And I really had lots of things, and you read my book, I really had lots of things to complain about, because I can say, as a victim, I could put myself as a victim, because I was lied to by immigration, who said we really need IT people. So I was waiting for Australia to bow to me and say welcome. It hasn't happened. We couldn't find a job. We came here with huge debt. We had no money at some point, really. I'm not saying like we have no money, but we have saving. We were minus a lot.
Like
We had
literally, the
this
bank
little
account
kid.
was dry.
Yeah, Australia was really against us. We were sitting there crying on the couch, both of us. I think this was the first time that I saw my husband crying. But we decided to, instead of going, this is unfair, and also different culture, people were smiling, but they didn't care. We couldn't understand that. So, and I remember this day very vividly, when my husband said, we cannot change Australia, we only can change ourselves. And
Such
that was
wisdom.
like,
Yeah.
so that was the moment. Instead of, sometimes we were meeting people who were going, oh, it's terrible in this country, is this. We were like, doesn't matter what is in this country. We want to be part of this country with their, like you give your vows to you when you get married, for bad and for worse.
For better or worse. Yeah.
For better and for worse. Take it as it is, because it's not going to help us. And this is where we really started going within and started changing ourselves and what we can do in order to feel good where we are. So that was the big thing for us.
Well, and look at how many people all over the globe really have a hard time feeling their own pain, let alone anybody else's pain. So many people never get on the train for self-development. And it sounds like you and your husband had that wisdom that we need to grow, we need to evolve, how do we do to be here? So all of the journey that you talk about in your book, the first one was how to get out of the fog, I believe, right? And the second one was the power of whatever. Love that. Um, would you say that your self-development journey came first, and therefore all the strategies and tools that worked for you led to the book, and then later out of that evolved more intuitive healing as a career?
Exactly. That's exactly what you said. First was the decision, made the decision. And then either I was looking for tools or tools were showing up to me, very practical. And I'm always in search for practical and quick fix.
Yes.
People say there are no quick fix, but I'm always looking for as quick as possible. I don't want to sit and on a therapy chair for the next 10 years to relieve my same trauma over and over again.
Well, the
I was
therapy is
always,
not working if we're in therapy for 10 years.
yeah. But yeah, I didn't want to really say it out.
Yes, no, I will gladly say that, right? The whole idea is for us as therapists to help people learn how to resource themselves, right? We can get everybody started, we can get them practicing these things, but the whole idea is then that, just like a parent with a child who, the whole goal is to have them be a healthy adult and leave the nest as a healthy adult. Really, that's, the goal that should be with therapy. So there you are, learning all these beautiful tools that you're finding. And that can be a brave decision to even learn, to decide, hey, I'm going to write a book.
Yes. So book was after. Actually, I did write my first book long time ago in Polish because I was already into it. But the book that I actually published was after. But I also wanted to say that we were already on this path. Like we really couldn't stay in Poland, I think, when I think about this right now, because first of all, we were also vegetarian. We wanted to raise our kid as vegetarian, at least try to see. We were not into also when child got sick into antibiotics and all those stuff. So that was quite weird. So that also mentally opened path to see that there are other alternative methods that we can use when it comes to health of our child. And yeah, you said about the book. The book kind of like whatever I do, it goes together. Book was happening exactly at the time when things were happening for me, because that was the moment where I decided to open my own practice, my own business. And you hear about this amazing, you have this freedom of having your own business. And I was really good in working for someone, so appreciated that I thought there will be no problem for me to have my my own business. And all of a sudden, all those demons came out. I realized that I need to find tools because there were so many blockages, so many fears that they came out, where I realized I was in this, also I was in this spiritual realm that do what you love, go with the flow, do what brings you joy. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing those stuff, so I shouldn't, because they don't bring me joy. But then I had no clients, nothing was happening in my business. I was like, there is something wrong here. Maybe the feeling joyful all the time, it's not what I need. And this is where Get Out of the Fog title came up, because I felt like I'm in a fog. And this is where topic of self-care and self-discipline came about, because I realized I can't live like airy-fairy, trying to be only full of joy in life, because this joy also comes through a bit of pain quite often. And this is where I start to think about self-discipline.
Yes, let me interject there because you're raising such a really important issue, I think, right? Because You and I probably heard a lot of things about law of attraction. You keep hearing things about, be positive, watch the effects of your thoughts and all these things. But like you said, it can kind of take some directions. I'm searching for the word. It's almost like it gives a false idea of the way it actually works, doesn't it? And so I'm so glad that you're bringing that out, because even speaking as a therapist, like you said, life is going to ebb and flow, and we need to be able to feel our emotions. And it's actually not helpful if we're ignoring our emotions, because the emotions are there to teach us something, right? Because in my way of looking at emotions, especially being more energy sensitive, I've come to word it as, when our energy field and another energy field are resonating, no wonder it feels positive in some way. But when we're in a place that is not resonating with us, whether it's a place in our mind and our thoughts, or, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, and that's not really resonating with who we are, or if we're in communist Poland and we're trying to be vegetarian and we're trying to do certain kind of healthcare, but we're not living in a place like that, I think it's really important first for everyone to be able to acknowledge that they're feeling how they're feeling, not to dismiss it, not to minimize it. It is important. And then the next step is to choose, what are we going to do about it? In your case, you chose to move to Australia for certain reasons. And then it wasn't as easy as you suspected, but it was workable and you kept doing the work. So there you were, things weren't coming easy. What was the career you were doing then? Were you starting to actually do intuitive healing as a career, or was there something in between?
No. I wasn't in intuitive healing at all at the time. I was into natural healing. I read books about energy healing. But one thing that from natural healing I was really interested was bioresonance, which was quite popular back in Poland. I can talk later about what bioresonance is. So that was already woo, quite big woo at that point. But you ask where I was working, I actually throw myself into big ocean because I decided to be an English as a second language teacher here in Australia, because there was a funny story, because I got one of my first job was teaching Polish to some Australians with Polish heritage. And some of those people were teachers, and they asked me, why you don't teach? I said, I just do it for fun. But you should teach, you're amazing. So, but I said, what can I teach? I knew that I don't want to be a primary school teacher or anything like that. So they mentioned you can teach English. And I'm like, I'm Polish in Australia. Come on. That's ridiculous. I have my accent, but they said, you learn English, you can explain, you understand students. And this is where actually my empathy bloom, because I really could understand those international students who come here, who struggle, first of all, because I understood their struggles.
Yeah, you shared that pain.
I absolutely, and I told them so many stories about myself, and then teaching them English so I could understand. Maybe I still obviously have my accent, but I could explain things that very well because I had to learn English. So this is what I was doing full time. And now I still love teaching so much that I still do it on the side, even though I concentrate mostly on intuitive. I just can't leave it.
Yes, but you were saying that you weren't getting many clients. You kind of felt that law of attraction wasn't really working for you at that time. Is that right?
Because I realize, I realized that I wasn't thinking about this before. My father had quite a few businesses and they didn't work out. And when I got deep into myself, I realized that my fear and blockage is so huge that I am not able to to attract client until I get rid of it, until I get rid of so I went, and I felt in my full-time regular job, I was under this beautiful duna, so warm and cozy, even though I was working hard. And now I am almost all out there with all my fears and blockages that I have. And I realized it wasn't to block me from having my business. It was to protect me not to get hurt.
Beautiful realization.
Yeah, but I still had to, so I didn't try to, like what you said, just Valerie, you can't push it out because then it grows even bigger. I had to accept it and work with this fear, work with what's happening, work through what happened in my family when my father lost his business and we were almost kicked out from our place. Because
right, that's our basic needs of security and safety.
That's right. And talking about law of attraction, once I went through it, and I think even the realization of stuff already melts your blockages, and clients started to show up.
Now, at the time, was that
amazing.
For teaching English?
So I was, so what I decided to do, because I also knew I cannot just throw myself into a big ocean because too much fear was there. So I decided I'm going to teach part-time. So I have my regular income and here are my days for my business. And that was amazing strategy because my body didn't freak out and didn't stop me of actually doing it. And I think that's an amazing strategy because I wasn't in a situation. Plus, I really enjoy working. So I think that was the best decision that I've made. And this is where I started working on bioresonance because I was fascinated on it for years and years. Whenever I was going to Poland, I said hello to my family and just went for bioresonance sessions. That's how much I loved that. And I knew that one day I'm going to do it here. And when the biggest sickness of the world hit.
Oh, all the COVID?
Yep, that was the moment where I felt that's the time. That's the time.
Wow. So there you were teaching English. Obviously, you were still looking for all these holistic medicine types of things and answers to healing. You found bioresonance. You really loved bioresonance. So we're going to tell viewers in a moment what that actually is. But here COVID hits and you're like, wow, how am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to teach part-time. I'm going to start my new business with bioresonance part-time, and it started to take off. And what I love about pointing that out is because so many healers, as they're trying to start their journey, we humans can get caught up into all or nothing thinking, can't we? So often the block is, I'm either going to do that or I'm going to jump into that. And so like you said, you're practical. I too am very practical. So I love that you're sharing your story, that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can, have a job that's bringing in a stable income, and then you can go ahead and start this, and then this increases, and then that can diminish, and you can do more and more, full time. So quite lovely. So tell everybody what bioresonance is and how you feel like it was really helping clients. And then it sounded like you were transcending it further.
Yeah, the transcending part was quite amazing. Yeah, so bioresonance, I still was happy that I won't be too woo at that part. I don't know why I still worried to be looked at really woo person. That was my thinking back then, but that's okay.
Well, and it's still a very common thing with holistic medicine and holistic healers, because there is quite a real attack on them. Certainly in this US country. And so, like you said, it just sounds like it's all over the globe that these newer forms of medicine in the beginning can be really criticized at best and really attacked at worst. So, but anyway, yeah, so tell everybody about bioresonance.
With Bioresonance, I was quite lucky in the sense that lots of Polish people who are here, they've already heard about that back in Poland, even if they don't use it. So Bioresonance is the actual machine. So we have frequency in our body. And let's say your lungs, you have problem with breathing. Then frequency in your body on a deep cellular level is changing. So what machine does, it's a big, quite massive, expensive, I must say, machine that you lay down on a mat. And by choosing certain programs, I was choosing them using my biosensor. So like the thing that was moving, that was one, my kids used to call it wand. So that's not wand, I'm not a witch or a fairy.
They were calling it a wand. That's funny.
A machine is very sensitive, and basically, I don't think machine is choosing. I think that's client's body is choosing what program is needed to, let's say, to unblock lungs or doing other things, and was putting frequency into the body. And then it was connected with self-healing, which is quite amazing part, because then it's body's decision to take those frequency on. So when people had something chronic happening for years and years, the danger was that body got used to that wrong frequency so much that it took a while before body realized, oh, that's the thing. So basically, if you look at bioresonance pages, people deal with parasites, bacteria, all sorts of physical things that are happening in the body. And it was all amazing, but I was so much felt I want to work with emotions. And this is where I realized I contacted some people who discovered also that you can use bioresonance to adjust emotions. And it was incredible when I saw how my biosensor is reacting when people were getting angry or upset. And I realized I can adjust it even using this machine. And so I wasn't in so much, even I should have, but I wasn't so much into bacteria and parasites. I always felt I want to help people emotionally.
Well, I noticed that we do kind of have different callings. Some people are very specifically called for physical healing. Other people are very much called to emotional healing, like those of us, of course, who become therapists. But so you started using bioresonance at first, the way the instructions were given. It was physical, you're finding clients, and then you were like, I really want to use it for emotional, and that was working. Do you feel like you want to share an example of a person who really had anonymously, of course, but who really had an amazing shift?
Yeah, people had lots of, for example, especially that it was a sickness time just after.
Oh, all the COVID, yeah.
Lots of anxiety and anger, and there was one gentleman who lost his best friend because of that, because of the way he was thinking. So I was able to calm down his nervous system, that he started to cope and stop thinking, because he said that I keep thinking about him all the time and I cannot function. So we were able to harmonize his nervous system so much that he still, of course, remembered he was hurt, but he was able to function. So that was one of the things. And then I started to look deeper into traumas and other things. But when I started to discover that I can do lots of things with the machine, my different abilities showed up.
And there we go. Talk about that.
And then Rollcaster happened.
Yes, I want to hear about that.
So I went to Poland and I visited my really good friend who does also that's why I knew so much about bioresonance before I started, was from my best friend who opened her own practice in Poland. And we were talking about this all the time. So when I jumped in, I knew quite a lot. And when I came to Poland, she said, I've learned this amazing thing, body codes. She said, you use your biosensor, you find emotions in the body, and people, by touching meridians here, they can release their emotions. And she did it for me. I said, this is amazing. Oh my gosh. I thought, we say it in Polish, that I caught God's legs. That's what we say.
That was a saying. I caught God's legs.
Yeah, it means like nothing better can happen from it. This is like the
Wow.
most amazing thing. So me being me, and me already having some amazing clients who love to practice, you know, whatever things I've learned, I started doing this on them. So I had my biosensor, I had book, I had table, and I was looking which emotion is in where, and that was quite amazing. So we did a bit of machine and a bit of body codes at the same time. And here I am sitting one day doing my woo stuff, and all of a sudden I see that before my eyes, I'm having like scene or picture of this person, or scene, I would say, from either their past life or something to happen to their soul, but I had no influence over to what I see.
It just started coming in, like a download, like a vision.
Yeah, like a download from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this vividly. There was this client, and I said, I see you in prisoner's clothing. Like you're having this orange thing on yourself. That's what you're wearing. And she went like, yeah, that's how I feel. I always feel like I'm in prison all my life. Da, 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 da. I was like, okay. And at the same time, tears started to roll my eyes. That already started. Oh, that actually started during body codes, that I started to be very teary and yawn. Like I felt energy is going through me while people release their energy. Yeah. So I said, what can we do? I said, I don't know. So I asked her, would you like to release this prisoner uniform? And she said, yes. And then pictures started to change. I didn't say, do this, do that, nothing. I was basically, I could say I had my popcorn and was watching it, almost like it, but it was quite emotional, actually.
Like a movie coming in, and you could
like a movie coming in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to practice it. And usually it took me a while before I was able to tune in to the person. There had to be intention. The person had to be very open, and was like 5-10 minutes before things started to show. So it was either the scene or like a movie, or I could see bricks or things on people's arms, chests, on their heads. Like all of a sudden I feel my head is so tight, or my thought, and it was very similar to what they were going through. But what's happening, because I decided at some point, but it was a really big point where I opened myself to what I can do. I can see now 8 scenes at the same time happening, and I can flick through, and process is much faster than it used to be. But there was a big jump I had to do, and we talked about this before. Your viewers haven't heard about that I thought I'm either losing my mind, I'm crazy, or I lie to myself that I see things and I don't see them. And what if it's bad, something bad? What if actually I tapped into, I was thinking, devil, bad energies? What if it's not good? And what if I tell people I can do session for you, they pay me money, but actually I'm lying? What if I'm making this whole thing up?
Well,
and
what
that
I
was like
love
a
about
big thing that I had to go through.
Well, and I so appreciate you being able to share that part, because it is such a common reaction for the healer's journeys, because when these intuitions, when these things, these gifts start coming in, like you said, we're used to the belief system of the majority culture influencing us, and that's what they would tell us, isn't it? So it's interesting how our self-talk is like, wait a minute, they're going to think I'm crazy. Am I? Can I really heal? So the fears are coming up. So talk about how you moved through that period.
I was so glad I did what I did. So I met with my girlfriends in a restaurant. And I was so overwhelmed by all of this that was happening. Even though I had big support within my family, I still was scared to go really outside with it and to admit it. And we were sitting there, and I mentioned that to my girlfriends. They were like, okay. And one of them, which I would never expect it would come from them, she said, I heard this podcast about this guy. His name is Patrice. I think it's similar to what's happening to you. And then I started to dig in. And also I found it on your podcast as well. And this guy was talking so happily about that he can see things, that he can then release them and heal them. And when I listened to him, I had chills. Like I had chills all over my body, like
It sounds
tears,
like it was
yawning,
just
everything.
so validating everything that you were like beyond yourself.
And I said, maybe it's true. It's true. And I contacted him. And that was the moment where he told me, yeah, what you are, and he can sense other people. He said, what you feel is right. You're right. It's correct. You do nothing wrong. And then he helped me. I did program with him, and then I met other healers as well. He helped me to go through this process where I went, okay, I actually, and now I have nickname. They call me Netflix.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's quite cute.
Yes, it is. But it sounds
Yeah,
like
and
you can get in not only one movie, but many, many movies at the same time, and you've learned to flick through them.
because of that, because we were practicing so much and checking with other people, and what I felt, other people felt as well, even though they have different abilities, but they still also could feel that. So I could relax in my space and start to develop, let's say, my gifts or whatever you call it. And now I'm quite relaxed in this space. And now it's normal for me, even though it may seem weird to outside world. It's normal for me. I love it. It's beautiful. I cherish it. But I must say, big thank you to my friend who told me about Patrice, because I'm so grateful forever, because I don't know for how long I would be in a doubt space. Like I knew it's good, but doubts were really huge, really huge. And yeah, so now we are working together, doing lots of things together, and I met other healers. So now I'm very comfortable in that space, and I feel it's just the beginning, to be honest with you.
I love that. So tell people, um, in other words, if they're feeling like they would like to work with you, what would you want them to know about what kind of things you work with and which all modalities that you work?
So I still use bioresonance occasionally if that's needed, because that's something that can be done a long distance as well. Basically, we work with all sorts of blockages, either physical or mental. But what I noticed important is that people come with certain intention. So it's not like, I just want to come and see.
Right.
So that's quite important if there is intention. There can be different things coming up during the session, but it's very helpful if intention is actually there.
Well, if I interject something about that, you even kind of alluded to it earlier, that if we are open, we can be open to healing and healers can help us. Just like when you wanted to turn off your gifts of empathy, they turned off. So if someone comes to you and they are not open, they are not going to have a healing. It just seems to be like a law of the universe, if you will, that if we intend to be closed, we will be closed. If we intend to open, we will open. And to what degree of healing will we allow ourselves? So I can see why for healers like yourself, having people come with intention sets the entire tone, doesn't it? It sets everybody up for success.
And it doesn't have to be very specific, like I have pain in my eye. It can be quite general, but still intention is there. But I must tell you, I've met quite a few people these days who said that they are really scared and they don't want to have a session with me because they are scared of what I'm going to see, that I will see their demons. And first of all, we all have our demons.
We
There you
are
go.
all human.
Yeah, we are all human. But second of all, I am not able to see what you don't want me to see. And there is no judgment there. That's all with intention for healing. And sometimes I really see horrible stories that I wouldn't like to see in a movie. But once it's done through healing, it's perfectly fine. And that's what you do for yourself. But when it comes what you said about closing, if people are closed, I can't get in, that's good news and that's bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Good news is that nobody can get to you if you don't allow them.
Including dark entities.
Including dark entities. And that was my huge discovery, because one day my sister asked me for a session. And I didn't know that, but she didn't feel like a session on that day. She asked me, we made appointment like 1 week before, but on the day when she woke up, she said, oh. And it's not like she's not open. She's very open, but she didn't feel like. I connected with her and I'm like, there is a door. I can't go through this door. What's happening? And she was like, I really didn't want to have session today. And instead of me being like, how could you do that? I felt so relieved because I realized I am not able to do anything unless you allow me to. And that's so beautiful and powerful. And it gave me also relief. Nothing can get to me, either positive or negative, unless I allow it. So
Exactly.
I said, that's amazing.
Even if subconsciously we're over to open. But yeah, if someone does not want to open, an intuitive cannot see.
No. And also, but that happened to me with bioresonance. People came to me with, I want to check if she can see that I have this. And I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But if people forgot to tell me, just forgotten, I could see things. So they were still
so they
open.
don't have to say it.
Yeah.
Because if they're open, you'll see it. But if they're playing a game, like I'm going to try, like really the intention is I'm going to hide it from you and see if you're that good and you can find it. But your point is, no, you just closed it.
Yeah, if you want to prove it to me that I'm wrong, you will.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
But that's not why I'm doing it.
Exactly. Right.
And that's, I hope, why not people don't come, and I don't want them to waste their money for a session just to prove me wrong.
Yes. Luckily, not too many people do that. Most people,
No.
especially my viewers, are going to be coming to you because they truly, truly want to experience all this beautiful energy and this beautiful, authentic energy that you have. And I hear how you first feared, wow, am I a fraud? You know, am I really going to do things? And that actually just speaks to how authentic you are and how loving you are, because you really, really wanted to make sure you were going to help people. But as a beginner, you didn't know if you could or not, right? So just how beautiful that you allowed yourself the space to go through all those evolutions of your gifts, that you stuck with it, that you really put yourself out there for people. And the more that you were vulnerable and you put yourself out there for people and basically you opened to your gifts, the more you were helping, like putting yourself in the position to help people, the more the gifts were coming.
Yes,
And I think that's such an
exactly right.
point for everybody to understand. It's almost as if we are lightning rods for love. We are lightning rods for healing. So when we put ourselves in the position and we have the intention that someone heals, as long as they're open, it's like it can come through us.
That's exactly right. And I realize, and I'm so happy because whenever I work with some spiritual people, I always look at them that they have they all sorted out. They have everything together. And that's why I didn't feel ready to help, because there are so many things I'm still working on, but we all do. And nobody has everything, figured out. And it's okay. But we can still help each other, even if our life is not put all together. And also, all the traumas, that everything that happens for the reason, and quite often to protect us from other things, but they just don't serve us anymore. And if there is a person who is a bit obese, but she really can help me lose weight because she knows her stuff, that can happen as well. It doesn't mean, well, it's helpful if you see, really fit person to help you out, but still, she might be still working on herself. And it's beautiful to see another person being in their journey. Because so many times I've noticed when people come to me, see me with certain stuff, there is a glimpse, little thing, I have that too.
Yes.
A little bit of this problem is in me as well. So more I'm thinking, yes, I'm helping you, but we do it together. We actually helping each other at some point.
And what I love about that, right, is we do tend to attract a lot of the people that we resonate with some level. And so, like, is it because we've had similar issues or similar past lives or similar blocks or what have you? And did we just even yesterday figure out a next step? And amazingly, a student appears who needs that next step, and we share it. And so each of us, right? We don't have to be perfectionists. Perfectionism will keep all of us from stepping into our highest being and our highest healings. So if we are just brave enough to put ourselves out there to help people, we will attract those that we are intended to help. And we only have to be even just a couple of steps, let's say, ahead of them on that particular road. We don't have to be God.
No. God is within us, and it's helping us. And I feel so much being guided, because on my visions, I never know. So that's also important for people also to know, because they say, are you going to see this? Are you going to give me? I don't exactly know what I'm going to see. Mm-hmm. Because it's not me. I'm going, I want to see your past life. Like, I know people can do it when they go to past life and they can flick through it. I don't know. Maybe there will be brick on your chest, or maybe something else, or maybe there will be a situation that you are at currently, or maybe your past life. However, it has never happened that people said, no, that's not what I wanted to see. Knock on wood, hasn't happened yet that people were like, oh, I actually wanted to see this, but you saw that.
Well, and especially if your intention, and especially if it's theirs, but if your intention is just show me what I need to know to help what they're ready to heal, then you're out of the way, right? And you're letting it flow. Sometimes clients, like I've had that even for me, where they might come to me and say, I really want to see if I have a past life dealing with that. Okay, well, we can ask the universe to show us a past life of that. But then sometimes we don't get anything because we're asking the wrong question. So like you said, it's just beautiful when we can work very openly and just let the universe show us whatever it needs to show us.
Yeah, and if I could tell one thing, that's exactly what you said, but also one thing, quite a few times happened to me when someone said, I have this problem, and I'm like, oh, that's it. This is what I'm going to see. And it's never that. So I really know from this, I was like, holy moly, that's not really me. That's not me doing it for sure. Because in my mind, this is because I had this situation before. I know exactly what's going to happen. Da-da-da. I sit and I go like, whoa, totally different. So that's what I
love
really
that.
enjoy in this process.
Yeah, because I think the point we want viewers to really receive about what you just said is that's how you even know when it's not you, because your mind, your left brain is thinking it's one thing, and then in something totally different comes. Now, so you see movies, you see visions and images come in like movies. Do you see guides? Do you work with known guides or angels? You know, again, everybody's a little bit differently.
Yeah, apparently I do have guides. I was told that I do have guides, but what I feel the most is earth. I
Yes.
feel I'm working with earth and it's just going through me. I feel her so much. So I feel universe, yes, but earth, it's like it's in me. I also feel there is Mary Magdalena as well there showing up once a while for me. But earth is my biggest thing that I work with. Yeah.
When people are coming to you, do you want to let them know how to contact you and anything more about how to reach you for healing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely.
I think the best way to contact me, it would be my website. And I'm just in the process of putting a calendar there. If someone would like to book a session or just contact me, whatever they need, because people have quite a few questions before the session as well, and that's perfectly fine. My website is just like my last name, TatianaSlezak.com. That's it.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure that when we post this, that I'll post your contact information there as well. And how do people get your books? You have the How to Get Out of the Fog and the Power of Whatever.
Power of whatever. Yeah. Through Amazon. So I also have links on my website, but if you put title Tatiana Slezak, you put on Amazon. Power of Whatever is just an ebook. It's quite short. I think quite pleasant to read and seems so simple, but some people told me it's actually helpful. I find it quite practical and some people found it quite practical. And the same with Power, How to Get Out of the Fog. It talks about self-discipline and self-care, and not only about that. It's also on Amazon in the paper version and also as an ebook.
Beautiful. And when I read How to Get Out of the Fog, I love that you were talking to people about balancing letting go and self-discipline, right? Because self-discipline is something that each of us have to cultivate, and it's very hard for each of us. I'd say most people find self-discipline very difficult, whether it's trying to lose weight or get over an addiction or what have you. And I know in the book you share your story on an early history of some food addiction and some of the self-growth things that you learned and how you did it. And then also talking about how do you balance that let go, let God kind of thing that people will hear a lot, go with the flow and everything will just magically work out versus the self-discipline. So for people who really want to hear more about navigating that balance, I want people to know that that is in your book. I think that's a real important topic. And you mentioned about self-care and self-love. There's so many people who are on the spiritual path and they feel like self-care, or especially if you say the word self-love, they have such a problem with that because they think you're saying love the ego, love the self in a selfish way. And I think what each of us would want viewers to know is that's not at all what we're saying. We are saying that and I write a little bit about this in my book, Living in a Quantum Reality, as well, right? Like there's a saying that you have to build the ego before you're ready to transcend the ego. And so through self-care, self-love, we get to know what is this energy self, this soul, this spirit. And as we know, and as we surround this self with that which is healing and rejuvenating and constructive, and it's building, then we actually build this beautiful temple, this beautiful instrument for the love that the universe wants to send through us. When we don't, right, if we do not self-care, we do not self-love, that means we are not giving ourselves what we need to thrive. And humans are not much different from plants, are they? Because plants need a certain kind of acidic soil. They need a certain kind of amount of water. They need a certain amount of sunlight, right? So we can't expect a plant that needs all this amazing sun and needs lots of water and needs a certain pH to all of a sudden thrive in shade and in drought conditions. Is just not going to happen. And so we too, self-care and self-love, in my way of looking at it, is a way to put ourselves in the conditions in which we thrive. And so I'm so glad to let viewers know that you too discuss these topics, and they're very important. And you mentioned about boundaries, and clearly boundaries are going to be part of that journey, aren't they? Because we can't be everything for everybody at all times and give in a yang sort of way, right? Without also in balance learning how to receive and allow ourselves to receive. And if we don't allow ourselves to receive, how are we going to even receive our gifts, right? So any parting thoughts that you want to share about any of those?
Oh, yes. And thank you so much. And I love the plant, what you said about plants. And now imagine flower says, no, actually, I want to die because I want to give all the water and everything to another plant, right?
Exactly. Like notice how it doesn't serve Earth. It doesn't serve the common community, the ecosystem, because we are all here for a reason, aren't we? We each come in with our own gifts, our own role, our own purpose for being in any given ecosystem in which we have been planted. And when we are not there, something suffers, right? In the same way that on Mother Earth, when we have this beautiful ecosystem and something changes, a species is destroyed, that species filled a certain niche, and we will watch the domino fallout that happens when that species is not there. So we too are meant to be here. We too have our gift, just like you have your healing gift, and you are here and you are meant to help people heal. And without you, the world is not as complete. So everybody who is watching, I hope they're watching your story about how it's not like it's not like everybody was just born with a gift and it's automatically on fire and it's automatically fearless and it's automatically just bringing in all these clients. That's just not how it usually happens. And I think that's actually a beautiful gift you're giving people by telling your very practical story, because I think most people will be able to relate to what you're talking about, how we might first feel our empathies, but then we close it down. And most people just haven't gotten as brave as you've gotten, when it's like, you know what, I'm going to contact someone to help me take the next step. And you did, right? So that's why we have healers, therapists and counselors and coaches. And, we each can provide that role, not to necessarily work with people for 10 years, but to help them with just that little piece they need to actually now fulfill their purpose for being here.
Oh, I love what you said. Thank you so much for that. Yes. And to close up about self-love and self-care, we mentioned before, you are very practical. I'm very practical. Like I have no time for BS. Like I really, So when it comes to self-love and self-care, I've noticed that my kids are better, are doing better at school, are generally kinder even to each other when I take care of myself. If
Oh,
I
I'm
give
so
everything to
glad.
them and I am exhausted at the end of the day, at some point they see this mother goes, oh, I gave everything, like I have nothing left. And then now I'm going out, they say, Mom, that's wonderful, you do it. And when I come back, they're happier. So
Yeah.
it's not only about what people might, and it's considered self-care, the selfishness. That's your obligation. You do it for other people. If you really want to help others, take care of yourself, because I see firsthand. Like when I start do something for myself, all of a sudden my husband comes, oh, honey, how was your day? Give me a kiss. Even though before he was still nice, but he noticed me. He notices me more. He feels better. Kids feel better. Everything gets better. So it's not about, well, like this plant. I love it so much. Like I'm going to steal it, what
Oh,
you
good.
said
I'm
about
glad.
plants. Imagine you have this garden and only one flower thrives because everyone else says, I'm going to sacrifice my life for you. Come on.
I love that.
So I think what you said and what I said, it really shows how ridiculous it is. And
And
even if people are very religious,
uh,
that's what Jesus said in Bible. Love
yeah,
others like you love yourself. And he has a point. He has a
I
point.
love that you brought that up. I always want to point out to people that, right, love others as you love ourselves, because only to the extent that we love ourselves, that is now our capacity to love. If we are less than in the love quotient, like you said, we come home, our husbands come home, we're grouchy, it's not happening. And to borrow our garden metaphor for selfishness, what would actually, using that metaphor of the plants, what would selfishness be? It would be one particular plant that decides it's going to take way more than it needs and just hog all of the water and let everything else starve to death. Do we really see that?
Yeah, and would you go to those other plants who died and you would say, you're so amazing, you sacrificed yourself for this one flower, I love you so much. You'd be like, what?
It wouldn't be much of a garden, would it? Yeah. So
No.
I love that, because here we're letting everybody know that it is our job, it's our responsibility, it's an imperative that we understand who we are. Self-love is about seeing ourselves, hearing ourselves. So many of us are worried that other people don't see us, other people don't hear us. I get it. There's like a plague on people being able to feel, loving people or having a hard time feeling love reciprocated. That is a thing. And at the same time, if we can't give it to ourselves first, then our capacity to heal, our capacity to love is greatly diminished. What is that, right? So I have this vision for the planet that each of us are out there doing our highest calling. And because each of us are doing our highest calling, there is such joy, and we're all sharing and we're all cooperating and we're all acting like this amazing ecosystem that is healthy and thriving. And imagine the earth that we will have when we evolve in that way.
Amen to that.
Oh, Tatiana, it's been such a joy speaking with you. Thank you very much for coming on tonight and sharing. And yeah, you are a gift. I am so glad that you have stepped into your healing role. And yes, blessings to you.
And blessings to you too. And thank you so much for giving me your time and your platform. And you're amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.